In this video, I will solve question 2 from a practice set of questions for midterm 2. So it will be a standard one-sided matching house allocation problem where we will talk about different algorithms and different properties of this one-sided matching. So we have a very big market. Again, I will make a note that don't expect the problem to be as big on actual test. For practice, I give you a bigger problem so that you can work out all the kinks. All the details. So we have 6 people and 6 houses. So person from 1 to 6 and houses A, B, C, D, E, F. So in part A of this question, we'll start with something that's very simple, random serial dictatorship algorithm. Random serial dictatorship. So that's random serial dictatorship can be used when we actually have a house allocation problem. We have people, we have houses, there is no ownership structure there. Therefore, our goal will be Pareto efficient assignments, and we know that the best way to get it is to run random serial dictatorship with some priority order. So in part A, we ask, identify the outcome of the random serial dictatorship algorithm for the priority order P5, P4, P5, P4, P2, P1, P2, P1, P6, and then I guess P3. P3 picks last, and so that's extremely easy. So they just go and start picking houses. So P5 goes and picks. He goes first. He can pick his best house. D. P4 goes next. D is unavailable, but he doesn't care for D. He wants C, so he will get C. P2 will get A. So far they're just picking their favorite houses. Well, P1 is the first person who cannot get D because D has already been taken. He cannot get C because it was taken. He cannot, he cannot get C because it was already taken. He actually cannot get A because it was already taken. So he would move into B. And then P6 wants D, A, C. So all in B is taken. So he goes to E. And finally, the last P3 is just left with F. So if I wanted to write it down in order, then it's B, P2A, P3F, P4 goes into C, P5 goes into D, P6 goes into E. Let me quickly check. B, A, F, C, D, E. Okay, so it match. Okay, so let's practice one more time. So again, random serial dictatorship, but with a different priority order. That was what part B is. So P2, P6, P2, P6, P1, P3, P4, P5. Okay, so P2 goes first, gets house A. P6 goes second, gets house D. Then P1, D is occupied, he gets into C. P3 goes, B is not taken, grabs B. P4 wants C, C is taken, B is taken, E. And then this guy has to live in F, the last house. Nobody likes F, it seems. Okay, so let's write it again in the order. P1 gets C, P2 gets A, P3 gets into B, P4 gets into E, P5 gets into F, P6 gets into D. Check C, A, B, E, F, D. Nice. Okay, so that's how random serial dictatorship works. So I will again remind you properties of this. So when we have a house allocation problem without initial ownership, the best allocation is Pareto efficient. So you guys already worked through problem set 6 by this time, and you saw a question with market with just 4 houses, 4 people, and you have seen that there are like 24 possible assignments. If you want to think about how many assignments here, it's actually a lot more, because if in a market with, was it 5? Well, sorry. So it's Yeah. So here we will have how many? So mark it 4 by 4. So 4 people, 4 houses has 24 possible assignments. Mark it with 5 people and 5 houses has 24 times 5. So that's 120 possible assignments. Mark it 6 by 6 will be 120 times 6. So that's 720 possible assignments. It actually will take a while to write down all the possible assignments here. Now, however, if we were just to run random serial dictatorship, we know that the assignments we receive have to be Pareto efficient by the theorem, because that's what random serial dictatorship does, is that for any priority order, in the end, it will spit out a Pareto efficient assignment. And it also has the strategy proofness. So we know that if, let's say, I ask you, oh, suppose this random serial dictatorship used with this priority line, tell me a person who can deviate by not reporting their preference truthfully, your answer should be nobody. It's strategy proof. There is absolutely no way for you to gain any advantage by reporting your preferences in a different order. You will just lose. You cannot get in a better house. The only way for you to get in a better house is get a higher priority order. So you want to basically kind of win a lottery or something. But you cannot gain anything by simply reporting your preferences untruthfully. Okay, so that's part A and B. Let's see what we asked to do in. Okay, so part C and D asks us a reverse engineering question. It's still about random serial dictatorship, but now instead of giving us a priority order so we can run the algorithm, it actually gives us the end result, the outcome, and asks us, well, can you come up with a priority order? So part C, the end result is P1 gets into C, P2 gets into F, P3 gets into B, EDA, E, P5 D, and P6 into A, D, A. All right. Okay, so reverse engineer question. Typically, it's either the answer should be either it's impossible, because if this assignment is Pareto efficient, then you will be able to identify a priority order that will produce it. If it's not Pareto efficient, then by the theorem, you will not be able to get it. Therefore, what you should be looking for, you should be looking here for a catch that maybe I gave you an assignment that actually cannot be implemented, but it's actually very easy to spot once you try to kind of pick up a priority order that will give you the result, and you kind of start struggling with it. That's a good indication that something is not, that the assignment is not Pareto efficient. So let's not even kind of consider this. So this is assignment. Let's just try to pick up something that works. So we should find, so if it works, there should be a person who gets their first house, because somebody has to go first. So let's see. For example, P5 can go first because he will just grab house D. That's what we want. So suppose P5 goes first. Let's see who can else go. P1 goes into C. Notice that right after P5, once house D is grabbed, we can P1 go, because then P1, he would want house D. D is unavailable. He will grab C. That's exactly what he wants. So that works. Let's see now. Anyone? Well, P3 can go at any point. He can go up front here, or he can go right now, right? I can also go, for example, P5, P3, P1. All of these orders will be exactly the same. They will result in the same assignment, the one we want. Or let's say we can go P3, P5, P1. So what we see so far is that we will be able to build multiple assignments if it will work out in the end. But let's continue with the first one. So P3 is grab B. Okay, who wants to go next? How about P2? No, A is still on the market. P6. Okay, so we can go P6 go because D is taken and he needs to get A. So suppose he goes P6, grabs A. So once A is off the market, we can let P2 go, because once A is not there, he will grab F. So that works. And we already ranked 5 people, which means the last person would have to be P4, and he will get house E because that's the only house that's available there. So that order works. You can see that there in my answer sheet, I actually have a different order, but that's the whole point, that usually what we just showed, that this assignment is indeed Pareto efficient. Here's one order that you can get it. Usually there are a lot more orders that you can that will produce the same result. It can be 10, 20, a lot, especially in this problem of that size. So this is just one possible answer here. All right. Now let's switch to part D. Okay. And in part D, we have same question, but different result. So we need P1 to be in F. We want P2 to be in E. We want P3 in B. P4 in C. P5 in D. And P6 in A. So that's part D. F, E, B, C, D, A. F, E, B, C, D, A. All right. So the same exercise. So we're trying to build a priority order that will result in this allocation after random serial dictatorship is ran. Again, you want to start with picking people who got their first choices, because it's much easier, kind of, you won't let them go first, they will grab their houses, and the problem becomes easier for us to comprehend. So for example, how about letting P3 to go first? He grabs house B, exactly what we want. Then how about P4? Because we want him to get house C. How about P5? He will get into D. We can go P6 go, because once D is taken, he would settle for A, which is exactly where we want him. And so we're already kind of almost in the end. So now the only choice we have is P1 and P2. So now they have to go. So if P1 goes now, P1 would grab house E, which not exactly what we want. If we let P2 go first, P2 will grab house F, not E. Problem, right? Because while this order works initial, so we assigned houses A, B, C, D, houses E and F are unassigned, and no matter who will going to let go first, we get a wrong assignment. That's exactly an indication that the assignment here is not Pareto efficient. Let us confirm that. So notice that P1 actually prefers house E to F, and P2 actually prefers F to E. So putting person 1 in house F and person 2 in E is bad, because if they were just to swap their houses, both of them will gain. Therefore, the answer here is impossible. So there is no priority order. So we tried to build one, we failed. Impossible, since assignment is not Pareto efficient. So what we just showed, that this assignment is not Pareto efficient because we cannot pick up an order that will give it. And I also argued that directly, that putting this person in house F and this house in house E is not a great idea, because everyone can gain by them simply switching their houses and improving their welfare. Okay, so that's part D. Now let's go towards parts E and F. All right. So now we're switching from house allocation to housing markets model. So we will start looking at the same preferences, same setting, but now we will give people initial ownership. So in part E, we need to run top trading cycles algorithm. Okay. And the reason we usually run it is to solve housing markets. So we have initial ownership AEC, DBF. Okay. So let's just start doing. So the best way kind of I know how to do it is just I start drawing errors until I ran into a cycle. So let's start with person 1. He wants house D. D points to P4. P4 points to C. C points to P3. P3 points to B. B points to P5. P5 points to D. Okay, and we already been to D. We know that we identified a cycle. So cycle includes P3, P4, P5 and their houses. So they just swap their houses between themselves and they're getting assigned, let me put it here, P4, P5, P6. So P3 points to house B. So we will put him in house B. P4 points to C and P5 points to D. So this is the first cycle identified, so everyone gets their first choice, B, C, D, first choice in their houses. Okay, so now once we assign them, it's not like deferred acceptance, there's nothing deferred here. You find it, you assign it. So we just take and we eliminate all of these people from this market. So let me just write P6 and house F. So we're left with 3 people and 3 houses. And we start again. So P1 points to, so now you have to point to a house that's still available, DC or not, so you point to A, and A points back to you. So we know that we just identified a cycle, and we assign P1 to A. Consider even smaller problem. So P2 points to F, F points to P6, P6 actually points to E. E points to P2, and so they just swap their houses. So P2 goes into F, and P6 goes into E. So let's check AF, AFB, CDE. All right, so we got the result for part, that was part E. Sorry, I erased it, but that was part E. Okay, so let's go after next part. And so part E read as run top trading cycles algorithm when the initial ownership is la la la. Part F finds a core assignment when the initial ownership is la la la. So this actually is the same question asked in 2 different ways, because core assignment is the same as running the top trading cycles algorithm. That's a theorem that top trading cycles algorithm produces you a core assignment. Furthermore, it's strategy proof, so similar to random serial dictatorship. If you see a question that says, identify a person who can gain by misreporting, no one. Top trading cycles, you just want to tell the truth, that's your best bet. Okay, so we have a different, so again, we'll need to run top trading cycles. So yeah, it's always kind of amazing. There, with 6 houses, there are 720 different assignments. Given initial ownership, only one of them is core out of 720, and top trading cycles finds it within like a second. Just a couple of arrows, and we get it. So it's almost kind of like sounds very cool. So we have initial ownership is CBD, and FAE. So let's start doing the same thing. So P1 points to D, P3 points to B, P2 points to A, P5 points to D. All right, and we get ourselves a cycle. So involving P2, P3, and P5. So P5 goes into D, P3 goes into B, and P2 goes into A. So they got their first choices. And what we need to do next is to eliminate P2, P3, and P5. Okay, so we're left with 3 people and 3 houses. Then P1 points, D is taken, P1 points to C. C is already with him. So we got P1 and C. And then we're left with 2 people to sort out. P4 actually wants E, and P6 actually wants also E, because he prefers E to F. So P6 stays with his house with E, and therefore P4 would also stay with his house F. All right, so let's check CAB FDE. Perfect. So we got part D. Finally, well, not final, we still have a couple of. So part G, identify an initial ownership, if any, for the top trading cycles to produce an outcome. So it's kind of same idea. It's a question about reverse engineering top trading cycles. Again, we're given the end result and ask to supply the input, the initial ownership. Which initial ownership will produce the result? So the answer is usually, again, either it doesn't exist because I gave you something that is not Pareto efficient, for example. Remember, the core assignment has to be Pareto efficient. So if I were to give you an assignment that's not Pareto efficient, you won't be able to get it for any ownership. Or if I gave you something good, then most likely there will be several different initial ownership schemes that will all result in exactly the same core assignment that we need to find. So we need the outcome we have is, so probably, so we need to put person 1 in CF, so CFB, EDA. So since there are a lot of possible assignments, so the way I suggest you guys approach it is by making your life as easy as possible. There is nothing wrong in putting giving people houses that they will end, assigning people houses initially that they will need to end up with, because this is usually just be reducing the number of trades that people need to make. So for example, I see person 3 in house B. I need to get him into house B, which means he has to be in essentially kind of like in the first cycle. B should be available for him. So why not give him B initially so that he already owns it? If he already owns it, he will end up in the say in house B. So if I need to work up initial ownership, that would definitely work. I would actually start with people who end up in their first choices and try to give them their houses. So let's put person 3 in house B. Actually, I mean, it's even easier thing to try is put everyone exactly where they need to end up with. But that's let's see whether it actually kind of works. So we can put P5 into D. So notice that I can put P6 into A easily because P5, if we give him house D, he won't trade with anyone, so he will just grab it. So like the cycle will just be going from him back to his house and back. And so once D is off the market, P6 will be getting house A. So I can put P1 in C because D will be taking. And before E, once C and so B will be taking, C will be taking. So P4 E, no problem here. And then P2 will have to be in F. So what I actually just proved kind of in my head that trying initial ownership that corresponds to the outcome I need to get is actually most like will work. So let me demonstrate this for you. So suppose I were to start running this algorithm. and my initial ownership was C, F, B, E, D, A. So let me kind of erase this part and kind of pretend like I'm running the top trading cycle starting from here. Well, so notice, I can notice that, well, P3 points to B, points back. So I can put this house into B and erase it. Well, notice that P5 is in the same story. Well, once D is gone from the market, P1 points to C and back. Also notice that P6 points to A and back. So A here, C here. Then P2 points into F, it points back. P4 points to E, it points back. So I just showed you that if I were to start the top trading cycles from the initial ownership that actually corresponded to the same order, it actually everyone is going to stay where they already are, and there's nothing wrong with this answer. You don't really need to have any trades. It just initial ownership is already very good. Therefore, everyone is already happy. Notice that in my answer sheet, I actually gave you a different, at least I think it's different. Yes, a different initial ownership, and there's nothing wrong with it. As I said, there are plenty of initial ownerships there that will produce exactly the same result that you have there. So you can try a different one. All right, so we're done with part G. So now let's talk about parts H and I, so it gets tedious. So part H, we are talking about priority line mechanism, and so an intermediate problem where some houses are occupied and some houses are not. So we just need to run priority line algorithm for the priority order. So we have P5, P5, P4, P2, P1, P2, P1, P6, P3, and we have extra conditions that P1 owns A, P6 owns B. So the way we run priority line is by you request my house, you give me the turn. So so let's start running it. Okay. So let me actually. So P1 A, P6 B. That's what we are given, right? Okay. So P5 goes first, grabs house D. Then P4 grabs house C. Nothing interesting so far. P2 goes, P2 wants A. A is occupied. Therefore, P2 has to let P1 choose first. Then P1 goes. So P1 actually wants D. D is taken. He wants C. C is taken. He wants A. That's his own house. So P1 stays in A. Now P2 goes. P2 goes and asks A staking. So he would be going to F. P6 next. P6 goes. P6 D staking, C A staking, C staking, B is free. So and that's actually his house. So he just stays in house B, and then P3 goes and then ends up in house E. So let me check the answer. Okay. Let me rewrite it in a form that I can check it. So then P1. So I should not erase this assignments here. P1 is house A, P2 is F, P3 is E, P4 C, P5 D, P6 B. Okay. A F E C D C D B. All right, perfect. So we solved that part. That was part H. And finally, the last one is one more. So we have part I, and then priority order is P2, P6, P1, P3, P4, P5, and we have initial ownership for P2 and P4. P2 is into B, P4 is in D. Okay, right? So let's start running it. So P2 goes first. He grabs house A. Notice that he immediately vacates house B. Okay. Then P6 goes. P6 grabs D. Oh no, he cannot grab D because D is occupied. He needs to let P4 go first. So P4 wants C. So we got into C, and he vacates D. So now so P4 goes in front of P6. So now P6 goes. He wants D, so he grabs D. P1 wants D is taking, C is taking A. P3 goes, takes B, and then, oh, no, damn. There was a mistake somewhere. Okay, so this guy grabbed C, P6 went, grabbed D, P1 will actually grab B. Because A is taking, B is vacant. So P1 grabs B, sorry. I don't want to have A assigned twice. Then P3 is B is taking, A is taking, C is taking, D is taking, he takes E. And then P5, sorry, P5 gets F. So P1 ends up in B, P2 in A, P3 in E, P4 C, P5 F, P6 D. So B, A, E, C, F, D. Okay, a match. All right, so that's how we work with one-sided matching problems. So just important things to remember that this market is theoretical. This theory is very well developed. So as long as we have people and we have houses and and this can be any setting you want where you're looking for one-to-one match, then you have 3 different settings where you have no ownership, full ownership, or partial ownership. And for each setting, you have different algorithms. All of these algorithms are strategy proof, so don't get caught into any questions that ask you to find somebody who can lie about their preference and gain. They're all strategy proof. Absolutely no use here to lie. So people are actually incentivized to participate in these things by revealing their truthful ranking. You don't want to misreport anything. You are not going to gain anything. And yeah, that's how this. So we apply different algorithms to different situations, but in some sense, they all have something similar in common. They're looking for a good assignment, and they just differentiate in the degree of initial ownership that you need to take care of. So, so when you don't have initial ownership, you use random serial dictatorship, super easy. Full ownership, top trading cycles, priority line is effectively a mixture of these two, where you do resolve any cycles if they appear. So that's the end for this question.